Hey everybody, Steve here again, rmtalk.com. Today I'm here with Karen McHale, first ward Alderman candidate. It's a pleasure to have you on, Karen.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to have this opportunity for everybody running to really make their case, connect directly with the community. It's hard knocking on doors. I'm sure a lot of people aren't answering. Maybe because they're scared, maybe because they don't want to hear about politics. But
it's surprisingly, I've had a surprisingly positive experience with a lot of people are home because of COVID. They're working from home, and the people that don't want to talk to you make it clear, and we respect that and move on. And I've talked to many people. It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful to meet my neighbors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So why would anybody want to get into politics?
I don't consider it politics, if you will. It's like small p politics. We are in this community together. We all want to see things moving forward. We want our roads to be fixed. We want our children safe. We want our tax dollars spent appropriately. I am a person that likes to dedicate my time and be a part of a community service.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got into it.
Yeah. And so you're recent. You just were appointed in January.
Yep.
How's that experience been so far?
It's been great. It's a learning experience for sure. There's a lot more that goes into it than I had thought, and I think you really need to be on council to see everything that's happening in council.
Yeah.
It's definitely broadened my perspective of things because when you're on council, you are speaking for your residents. You kind of give up your own opinion, if you will, for that of the residents and what they want. So, that's how.
Okay. And so, this is a really difficult time to get into any sort of government operation.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things have changed. It's hard to bring past experience and past things into what's happened now because everything's different and nobody has experience. In this is the first time we've ever dealt with this type of work.
Right.
So I guess the idea is, what is the biggest thing that you've learned in your time? What has been the things that you can pull from your past experience, your strengths that you feel make you the best candidate for this position?
Sure. I moved to Rolling Meadows 4 years ago, and I became the president of my homeowners association 3 years ago. We're more of a social and philanthropic group. And I really love that we have been able to pull together as a community, especially in the past year. We've done various service projects. We've collected food for Northwest Community Hospital workers during COVID, hundreds of meals. We've done helping small businesses by doing carry-out nights monthly for the whole neighborhood. So they deliver, which is really cool. So it's kind of like we're eating together, but we're not. And then we've done food drives and things of that nature. So I think just being able to bring people together, I think, is really important. And I think I've been able to really do that in my time here. So.
Yeah. And so, has there been any difficulty? You kind of said it already. There was things that you didn't expect. What were the things that were just the most shocking to you about the operation of government coming from, not being in it?
I've always paid attention to what's happening in city council, but I didn't realize how much is behind the scenes, kind of, if you will. We have a city manager government. So we have a city council government. So our city council works with the city manager. And when you really start to look at everything and the way everybody works together, Public Works, the police department, the fire department, there are so many moving parts that I always knew was there, but I didn't know exactly how it operated. So one of the things that really affects me, especially in my neighborhood, not me personally, in my neighborhood, is we have a lot of flooding and stormwater retention issues. And I always was like, well, we should get this addressed. And it's so much more than just getting it addressed, right? So I had Public Works come out and I said, I want to know what happens when a raindrop hits my house. And we walked through the process and we walked through some neighbors' backyards to just kind of learn every single step. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. So it's things like that, really breaking it down and then being able to communicate it to residents. Because I think that we do have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I'm really glad that you brought that up. I mean, the communication breakdown is, there's things that you can do to communicate. There's channels that you can put in place to communicate. But if you're not being clear in a way that people can understand what you're trying to communicate,
it's very frustrating.
It's very difficult, and it's it's frustrating for government, but it's also, now you're going to have people that are mad at you about something where they don't have all the information,
right?
And it's so hard to get people to a consensus on what needs to be done if everybody is operating with a different level of understanding.
It really is, and I think that a lot of it can be very clear, and we just need to get that information out there appropriately.
Yeah. So how do we do that?
Well, I mean, I think that so for instance, with the stormwater thing, a couple weeks ago, we had it was during a committee of the whole meeting, Director Horn for Public Works was telling us how the water mains work and what the city is responsible for and what the residents are responsible for. And it was very clear, it was very concise, it was on a piece of paper. And I think that for things like stormwater, the reason why your backyard is flooding is because you have all of these bushes and trees in the easement where they're not supposed to be. I don't think residents know that some of the issues they can correct themselves, and it's very easy, and it's black and white. So I think things like that where we can have workshops, or we can have, I think that our website could be a little updated and a little bit more user friendly. And I just think being available and communication is, really key, and being able to pull the residents together. Over in Ward 1, we're all over the map. It's a different animal over there entirely. We have residents that go to Palatine Park District. We have residents that go to Rolling Meadows Park District. We have Palatine mailing addresses. We have different schools. We go to Fremd. Everyone else goes to Rolling Meadows. It's, two different high school districts. Yeah. So it's just a very different, it's a different place over there. It's wonderful. I mean, it's very cool. But I think that bridging these different communities together, I think that we can do better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all trying to figure out ways to kind of communicate effectively for all different reasons, whether it's on the residential side to help people with issues, pertaining to their yard and flooding, like you're saying, but also on the business end of it. Yeah. How do we get people, the residents, engaged with the businesses more than they are? And then specifically, how do we get the businesses the support they really need from the city?
Yeah.
And getting the process streamlined so it's not like, why even bother?
Yeah.
Some people are like, I'm not even dealing with them. It's too hard.
It is, and it's true. I when I was it's not funny. When I went to local business a couple weeks ago, I told this woman that I was running for Alderman, and I just saw her face like drop.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's wrong? And she goes, I wish I could say that I had a great experience working with Rolling Meadows. It's been awful, and I would never, ever recommend anybody come here. And I was like, this is a problem. And I know it was a permitting, for her, it was a permitting issue, and there was a lot of other things. We didn't get totally into it. I plan on getting back with her to kind of see, because she's willing to help in like telling us where we dropped the ball to help other businesses, which I think is pretty commendable for someone who had such a terrible experience bringing their business into Rolling Meadows. And I think that's important to really evaluate and see what our current business is right now, what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, and where we can fix it and bridge the gap, whether it's with our business development person, if it's creating a program to bring new businesses in, whether it's, having somebody with the business from the moment they apply for their license to when they cut the ribbon that day. So again, and I think it all goes back to communication between everybody.
I started rmtalk with the Chamber of Commerce for those exact reasons, because there was a disconnect, and the government can solve all these business issues. They can't. No. It's not their place.
Mm-hmm.
It's you need a third party, and that's what the Chamber of Commerce had to offer.
Yeah.
And has to offer. But
and I also think that just being as an alderman, just being available, and even if you're just a sounding board, to be like, so that businesses feel valued.
Right.
Like, I'm having a problem with this, I'm going to call my representative. I love that, and I would embrace that wholly.
Well, that's the role. It's representative.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's staff where you have to deal with permitting and having the process and make sure things are safe, and and that's understandable. But that happens in every city. Yeah. So why has it got to be difficult here?
Right. I know. I think that there's some challenges that don't have to be challenges. Again, communication, and just maybe we need to do a reevaluation of just how everything's going down right now, and using these businesses that have had these really difficult times to say, this is why, this is where, and then learn from that, embrace it, and move forward.
So one of the main issues is the assistant city manager role.
Yes, assistant city manager role.
And there's a part of that, from what I hear, that the business advocate role was developed because there was no assistant city manager. Mm-hmm. And I think you obviously have much more knowledge on this than I do. Yeah. So can you share a little bit of it?
Well, I can do my best. The thing that surprises me about the assistant city manager role coming up is that all of this stuff has been discussed in closed session. Yeah. So to make a determination on whether or not you're going to support it or not support it, and I'm not saying anything right now because all the details aren't out there for everyone to know. Right. And it's directly tied to personnel issues and contracts and goals set, and there's no position that's been open yet for this position, and it's still being discussed. Right. So I was not a part of council at the time with the when they were thinking about doing a city manager, but then they ended up with the business advocate. And again, I think it's time that we can evaluate and see what is our business advocate doing, and would an assistant city manager help that, right? Or how can we help our city manager be more available to take on these bigger, broader projects, like bringing new business into Rolling Meadows. I mean, coming up, we don't know what COVID has done to us yet. So many people have been working from home. We have empty office buildings, and are they going to come back? And what's going to happen to our restaurants that people are going to lunches, and our travel? My husband traveled weekly, and he hasn't traveled in a year. All those hotels, all those restaurants. So
it's terrible.
Yeah. So I think that we are going to have a big challenge coming up, and I think now is a really great time to embrace it and see what our city staff has, what's happened in the past year, and see where we can work things out to better the upcoming, what's coming up ahead of us. So
right. Yeah. Solutions, not why you can't do things. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that the city manager, assistant city manager position has been talked about. It has been budgeted for, and I know that some people are worried about, we're reallocating funds through the budget, but the funds are there. And again, it's one of those things where this is all discussed in closed session. There's
Right, I
a
don't
lot
expect you to-
happening behind
right.
the scenes. So to make a determination on whether you're going to say yes or no, it's really premature.
Yeah, and everybody has an opinion.
Yeah.
Right. So
And they should.
exactly.
They're residents.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, it boils down to budget. Can we afford it?
Mm-hmm.
Do people is it something that is going to be a benefit if we can afford it?
Yeah.
Could it be done cheaper? Is there something else? All these different things.
Absolutely.
So that needs to be obviously thought of, but we definitely know there are going to be a lot more problems that are not clear right now.
Right.
Once the stimulus money, whatever comes through, dries up, these problems are going to be magnified.
Yeah.
A lot, and businesses are going to need more support than ever.
Yeah.
Or they're going to be gone, and we're going to just have vacant spaces, and things are going to get worse.
Yeah.
And so, what can you do? What can you say that you'll do if reelected to address some of these concerns, try to solve some of these problems?
Well, I mean, I think that one of the first things that we need to do again is go back and reevaluate what the past year has taught us with COVID and, with the business advocate, with the city manager, and see how we're going to be able to get creative and figure things out. But the thing too is we're all in the same situation. I mean, and Rolling Meadows is it's like sandwiched right between Schaumburg and Arlington Heights.
Great location.
It's great. It is. And I think that for me personally, when I have to go shopping, I don't want to go to Woodfield, and I shop local to the best of my ability. And I think that we have in Rolling Meadows a perfect opportunity right now with this sale of Arlington over here and what they're going to do over there, which I'm sure is going to be lots of commercial stuff, but to really like embrace that and try and get creative with some different maybe types of businesses or, and I think that we need to look at what we have now as far as, in the city staff and see where we can, enhance the
effectiveness.
Yeah, the effectiveness, the business advocacy and working with these individuals who've had a hard time, and how can we get them in, right? So that's kind of where I'm at that.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I don't expect you to have all the answers.
Yeah, no.
I like to hear what your thoughts are. But yeah, and it's a difficult problem. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's important that we have the right people working on these issues.
Yeah.
Or at least the people that are aware the issues exist.
Yeah.
And I think everybody does. I think everybody that I've talked to so far understands that there are issues, and they just have different ideas of how to solve them. But,
Absolutely.
And it always goes to communication. So let's talk about this a little bit more. So you're in, the no man's land. I guess Palatine, not sure, Rolling Meadows area. So how do we change that? Have you thought about ways to change that? Well,
again, and I'm telling you, everything comes back to this communication thing because it's not easy. But I'm willing to take on the challenge. So I just had a conversation with another alderman this week about how he is able to connect with his residents, and got a lot of really great ideas there about newsletters and just being available, right? I am in a fortunate position that I have young children, so I know tons of families in the area that have never that identify with Palatine, right? So one resident I talked to, who happens to be a friend of ours, she said when she moved into her house, they went to call the city of Palatine to set up her garbage. And they're like, yeah, you got to call Meadows. That's their street. And she's like, what do you mean? My address says Palatine on my driver's license. Yeah. And they're like, no, you're really Meadows. She's like, I bought my house thinking I bought a house in Palatine. Wow. So it's crazy. And I think it's challenging, but I also don't think it has to be. I started a Facebook page, which has gotten a lot of traction, and people are really, liking that. And I know it's not all about social media presence, but I think that's important. That's where people get a lot of information from.
Yeah.
So, but it's a Postmaster General thing. There's nothing that we can do about that part.
Right.
So, just being available and getting communications out there as best as you can and being transparent,
Yeah, one thing that I was just talking actually about was like a welcome wagon type of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So like somebody moves in, we don't have anything like that?
So we do get a list of new residents every month that is mailed to us. And I wanted to start by, when I got this list, I was like, this is great. I'm going to email them and I'm going to go and introduce myself and, welcome them to the neighborhood and stuff. Every alderman can do, as they want. But so that's something I'm definitely going to do when I get elected. I just didn't want to start it with an election and be confusing. So. Oh, I see. Yeah. So, so we do have a list of residents that come in, but that's a great idea. Some sort of a welcome wagon, and here's where your garbage is being picked up from. It's not Palatine.
There's a list of all the companies that can do these things for you.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Absolutely. So, we do have in my neighborhood, when we started the neighborhood association, we have like a binder that I didn't start that. It was actually already established. But I have lists of neighbor kids that shovel snow that, if you need a handyman, here's a number, here's, who we've used for all sorts of things like that. Yeah. I don't know why that can't be like a bigger picture thing.
Yeah. I mean, there obviously are legal things as far as with the city can't just be biased to one company.
Right. No, of course.
There's things like that, but that's where the private-public partnership comes in. Yeah. And that's why the Chamber of Commerce is effective, and things like it, rmtalk, working on, things like that too. The communication thing is you can look at if you just look on a map and look at the cities that are doing things right, and then just see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of creative ways. And so in your opinion, I mean, you're new in there, so you're still kind of like, you're an incumbent, but it's almost like kind of, right? So
I've talked to other aldermen that said it takes about 6 months or so to really get your groove in trying to, we get an agenda packet. It could be 200, 300 pages long. We get that on Friday, and then you have to, read through the agenda packet, and then you got to take your questions, and you got to get your clarifications, and then you got to go to the residents. And so just even like getting your, do I do this Friday night? Do I do this Saturday morning? Yeah. So everybody has a different process. So it takes about 6 months from what I hear to really get your groove with that.
But it's a strength to be new.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Yeah, because I bring completely different perspective. I haven't been a lifelong resident of Rolling Meadows. I came in and I saw some problems and I said, hey, let's, I was planning on running. I think I told you when Alderman Cannon resigned 2 years into his term, I was like, well, I should do it now, I guess. And it was totally unexpected, and it's been great. Baptism by fire, right? So
it's the best way.
Yeah. So I'm learning a lot, and I love doing it, and I love talking to residents, and it's been a great learning experience so far.
So what do you have as far as long-term goals go?
Long-term goals within the city?
Sure, or in general.
I mean, again, just bringing that. I want the Ward 1 residents to feel like they're part of Rolling Meadows, right? I want to be able to go to my friends. Okay, I want to be able to go to the Rolling Meadows parade for 4th of July and see people I know. I go to the Palatine parade for 4th of July. I know everyone. But in Rolling Meadows, I don't know anyone because everybody goes that way. But Rolling Meadows has such awesome things over here. The first time I was ever at Kimball Hill Park was last year. That is a gorgeous, super awesome, fun park. I never went there because I didn't know where to park. Yeah. And I didn't know how to get in there. So again, communication, like, hey, we have these great things happening in Rolling Meadows. We have Wine by the Creek. Right. Hey, ladies from Palatine, let's go and let's hang out and, let's bring them in. because I think we have a lot to offer, but I just don't think that we have it out there to, I don't think everybody knows about it.
Communication.
Yes, communication.
Yeah.
It all goes back to communication.
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely does. A lot of things start with communication.
Yep.
Two-way.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's the main role of an alderman.
Yeah.
So that, do you feel like there's a specific communication breakdown besides obviously the obvious ones that you just talked about in Ward 1 that you feel you have solutions or are working on solutions, or what do you think?
Yeah, well, like I said, I've already started a social media presence, which has already started to bridge a little bit of the gap.
Yeah.
As I'm walking around neighborhoods and meeting people, I hear, every pocket has a different issue. So one of the things I'm running in is stormwater and flooding issues that we have, but that doesn't affect everybody in Ward 1. So it's everybody has different things happening. And I think that especially because we have these smaller communities, a lot of them have like neighborhood associations, and they have neighborhood association presidents and leaders. So I think that by making myself available to them and really working on a relationship with them, they can help get that communication out to their neighbors in their small hub communities to get the bigger information out about what's happening in Rolling Meadows and what businesses are opening and how we can be a community.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so events,
Yeah.
that's a big deal. It's been harder since obviously things have changed, but as things get back to normal, there are a lot of events that happen and people don't know about it. One of the things that people complain that there aren't enough things, and I wonder if it's maybe they're talking about there aren't enough businesses.
They complain that there's not enough events.
Yeah, people say.
I think we have a lot of events in Rolling
I
Meadows.
think we do too, but I think it always boils to that communication thing. I
Yeah.
think that a lot of it, maybe what they're talking about is we don't have destination things to do, like to go spend money. There's not a lot of I think one of the things that when I talk to the business owners, people like Mike for instance, here, he had a really good idea just about different complementary businesses.
Yeah.
How do we bring those things into this town? How do you outreach? How do you communicate with the other business organizations around and sell Rolling Meadows? What would you say if in your pitch?
Well, I would say that if you're a small independent business like reps here, that's what Rolling Meadows could be, like small independent locally owned businesses. Instead of going to the Applebee's, you go to something that's more local and friendly, right? As far as how we can bring them in there, again, I think that's another communication issue where we can get with our, business advocates and the chamber and really start thinking about, how evaluate how we can draw them in, right? Whether it's, incentive programs or, offering rent deal. I'm just spitballing here because I don't even really know. But I think that, and you know what else? You have people like yourself and Mike Reppy and plenty of business owners, the woman that I was talking about, that we can form, a committee or whatever to figure out what works and what doesn't work and how can we draw them in and what have we done right and what have we done wrong, right? Because, who better than to get that information than our business owners that are here?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's an economic development committee.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So, I'm not super completely familiar with everything that they do. Like I said, I just started, so I'm still getting my feet wet with all the different committees and commissions. But I'm sure that there's a lot of creative ideas that we can.
Yeah, it's a lot of what I feel is just there's just a lot of things that could be done, but the ideas are just small-minded ideas. They're not things that are going to really do anything long-term. There's not something that's going to, if you're making a pitch, I want your business in my city.
Yeah.
That needs to be figured out. Well, how do you do it? And then who makes that pitch?
Right.
So how do we do that? So if they're, these are the things that I'm interested in, finding somebody that's going to bring those things up, communicate with the people, ask the questions. What would you like to see in the community? Right.
And I mean, you bring up a great point. And with that assistant city manager position, if we hired somebody in that position, would that open up more opportunities for the city manager to do that? Would that open up more opportunities to the business advocate if we took some of the day-to-day operations off their plate? Right. These are all things that are in discussion, and again, we can't really talk about whatever. Definitely. But I think that there's a lot of things that we need to evaluate from a city staffing level, and with the Economic Development Committee. And again, just pulling local business owners in who have had problems or have had a great experience, right? So
yeah, you gotta get the information from people, because the business owners know what they need for their business.
Yeah, and they know what will work next door to them.
Yeah. I mean, it's some people do, some people don't, but for the most part, they know.
Yeah.
They know what works, what doesn't, and they're going to tell you, and they're going to be real clear about it.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, people say things, but if nothing changes, then what's the point?
What's the point? Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So that's
hard.
The frustration that I deal with people too. People are just like, why bother?
Yeah.
I could just go and do this. I'll do it myself and I'll do it better.
Yeah.
Or the nightmare scenarios where people are like, oh, this is ruining me.
Yeah.
Like I made a mistake.
That, like the business owner that I'm talking
Exactly.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it shouldn't, it's unacceptable, and it shouldn't be happening that way. Like I said, I just found out about this incident like a week ago, so I haven't really gotten to really get into it. But when you hear things like that, it's like, what are we doing? So we need to definitely go and evaluate what is happening with our business, especially, and it's a perfect time, right? Because we don't know what COVID is going to look like, or what it's going to do to our businesses. We have an idea.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good. So now it's like, okay, what's next? So let's get the right people in there, in the right positions, and move forward.
Yeah, and incentivize people to spend their money in this town.
Yes.
And bring their business in this town, and then incentivize people to maybe start a business. Find a space that's vacant and find a way to fill it.
Yeah.
These things, I mean, that's.
Yeah, I think we have to have somebody out, bringing it in. You can't wait for it to come to you.
No, nobody. It's never going to come to you.
No, it's not.
No, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, and I think that we're kind of in this perfect bubble of, we have, yes, the pandemic is, really hurt the pocketbooks of some, but I'm sorry, what I'm trying to say is the development that's happening in Schaumburg right now is going to be huge, right, over on Meacham and Algonquin, and then we're going to be sandwiched between that whatever is going to go at Arlington Park, and then we have downtown Palatine. We don't have a train station, and the thing is, I think we need to stop trying to be some of these other communities, and we need to make our own place and make it the place that you want to be. And I think that people aren't going to want to always go to the chains and things like that, and they're going to be looking for something that's a little bit more down to earth and
we live
homey.
We live in a spot surrounded by two of the largest suburbs of Chicago.
Yeah.
With residents like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Palatine and Arlington Heights and Schaumburg. We have a very small.
We're 25,000 people.
Yeah, so it's not something that can be self-sustaining.
Right.
you have to communicate with these other places.
Yeah.
Has our government been communicating with the people in charge of these developments that are going up that will drastically affect our community?
I can't really say to that. I'm not exactly sure. And I don't think that they really have to. I do think that intergovernment communication is important, but I can't speak to whether or not that's happened or not.
Yeah,
I know
'cause I'd be
that the
curious.
Herald had asked us what we would do in that site in Arlington Heights when it's sold. But to be honest, I don't think that we want to play nice with Arlington Heights. And, I hope that they will take into consideration the other municipalities that are surrounding that location that it's going to impact,
Well, it'll affect us specifically
yeah.
very deeply because just the nature of what we are as a drive-through
Exactly.
area, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But if you know that you're getting that drive-through traffic, then
we
just need to
have an
capitalize on that.
opportunity, and
Absolutely.
capitalize on that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunity right now.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that are getting creative. Maybe they lost their job and now they're wondering, what am I going to do? Maybe I can start my own business.
Yeah.
A lot of different things. These programs, there's sky's the limit. And thankfully, you have an opportunity because you're there now, and if you do get elected to bring these things up. So,
Yeah.
I love that. Now, what else do you have that you'd like to talk about? I mean, what are some of the other issues for the First Ward specifically, besides the ones that you brought up, that you feel are really, really important topics that you want to address?
I just want the First Ward to be considered, not considered, but feel like they're valued residents, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like they deserve representation that's readily available. I think that that I can do that. I think I can bridge that gap and start bringing some new life into the council and like I said, I have a young family, and the neighborhood over there, everywhere, it's changing, right?
Yeah.
People our age now are moving in. I know so many people who bought their parents' houses, right? And they went to small and they've downsized. And I think that that's another thing that is really great for Rolling Meadows is we have this new, vibrant, younger, people coming up, and you're the ones that are going to come to your new businesses and utilize those things.
Right.
And then over by us in Ward 1, like I said, the first time I was at Kimball Hill Park was last year because I didn't know it was there. I think that we need to just tell people what's over here and what we can offer, and then bring more people in. More people means more people spend money. I'll go to Kimball Hill Park and I'm going to stop at Comet on the way home. I'm going to pick up dinner at Reps. It's things like that I think that we've just kind of been, they're fine over there. They don't complain much. They just do their thing, whatever. And it's unfortunate. And I think that we have a lot to offer, and I think that we can spend some money in our town instead of bringing it to Palatine and to Schaumburg.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good if you're also promoting other things too and cooperating. That's always great.
Absolutely.
But the job of this city is to take care of these people. So I agree. I love it. As far as so. I don't know if we already brought this up, but you brought up the sign. Okay, the story of the sign, how you got into it. And I love the origin story of people, how they get into things and what made you kind of pull the trigger.
Yeah. So I don't know if I was watching a city council meeting or where I read it, but I saw that there was a proposed electronic billboard that was going to be put at Silent Brook and Quinton. I don't know if you know where Silent Brook and Quinton is.
No.
Yeah. Exactly, right? Over there all the way in Rolling Meadows, Ward 1. So it's in a residential area off of Quinton. And I read this and I was like, what do you mean an electronic sign? And I saw the picture and it looked exactly like the sign that's in front of City Hall. I'm like, that's like my neighbor's backyard, literally in my neighbor's backyard. What is this? So I looked into it, and they wanted to put a sign there to promote events and things happening in Rolling Meadows, because this side of Rolling Meadows is forgotten about, or I shouldn't say forgotten about, but they can't communicate as well with us over there because we don't drive down Kirchhoff and see the City Hall sign all the time. So I got with a neighbor and I was like, they're trying to put this sign. It was like, what? So we walked around with a petition and we got over 200 signatures, and I talked at City Hall and I was just like, this is crazy. We can't have this sign put up in a residential neighborhood. There's no sign. So it worked. But then that's when I was like, there really is a communication gap over here. Like I said, people think that they literally moved into Palatine. And if they thought that a big electronic sign was going to do it, that's not a good idea. So that's when I started kind of paying attention a little bit more of what's going on in the city and how I could, contribute to help. So here we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I love that though. That's I love that story. That's why I wanted to ask about that one. As far as, sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Should have let them know. As far as government itself and working with these people since you started in January, what are the clear things that you feel can be done better?
These people.
The
city council or with
everybody. City staff, city council, other people.
Okay.
In general.
Say your question again for me.
After dealing with,
for the time I've been there,
yes,
how do I think I could?
What do you think could be done better?
Could be done better. Well, again, communication.
Yeah.
100%, hands down. Having all of the different entities be able to collaborate without any like animosities, which I don't think has really been a problem since I've started on city council. Everybody that I've worked with on the council, all the other aldermen, the mayor, have been wonderful to work with. We collaborate well. We, have healthy discussions in committee of the whole meetings and all those things. We, city staff, they're very, like, everybody communicates. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's always room for improvement on every level. You have all these different places working together, and they're all in different places, right? You got Public Works over there on Burdick, and you got the police department and City Hall together, and you have the fire department in two different places. Right. There's just, I think that, just communication and things like that can always be improved, and yeah. But yeah, it's been a delight so far. I've really, really enjoyed my time on city council so far, and I hope to keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, this is why I wanted to give you an opportunity to really tell everybody.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what you're doing, what your thoughts are, your personality. Getting in front of people, it's important. Yeah. I know you're knocking doors.
I am knocking doors, meeting people. I am a resident too.
Yeah.
When it comes down to taxes and budgets and my roads, my roads are crumbling. It's ridiculous, and I'm very interested and invested in that too. I have 4 kids. My oldest is 10. My youngest is 4. They are going to probably want to go to college, which is not going to be cheap. So I'm very interested in where my tax dollars are going. I don't want to spend money unnecessarily ever. But you got to hear every side to everything that's going on as a representative and make sure that you're making the best choice that you can in your power to represent the people that you represent, which in my case is Ward 1 over on the way other side of Rolling Meadows.
Yeah. So one other thing. Yeah. Senior outreach. How do you reach people that are not online, that don't necessarily communicate in the ways that we do every day? How do we do that?
So Alderman Veneziano and I had started an outreach program for seniors for COVID vaccines just recently. We got over 60 people, actual appointments, and they all should at least have their first shot at this point, which has been just incredible. But there is definitely a gap there for how to reach them. But you'd be surprised at how many really do get on that computer and they know the emails and they know that the Facebook and everything like that. My grandma's 96 and she's on, or 94, and she's on Facebook. So the senior center has been really helpful in getting that information out for residents that didn't have that opportunity to go online and get themselves an appointment. And the township was also helpful in getting some information out to those seniors. And I think, again, that intergovernmental communication will be really important, and working with the seniors, like we're with the library, because lots of seniors go to the library, even if they don't use a computer. Sure. And, the newsletters that go out in the water bills, I think, are very helpful. And now, after doing all of my canvassing, I have a list of people that I will probably go and walk by and just make sure that they're okay and, see what's going on, you know?
Yeah, isn't it? I wonder if it's a good idea just to campaign every year.
Yeah. No, I mean, as long as you're not fighting for it. But no, I definitely intend to, when I continue on, definitely, like, instead of taking a walk in my neighborhood, I'll go and I'll walk the other neighborhoods and just make myself available. And I've met people who've lost a loved one, or are interested in pickleball, or or are really concerned about what's going on Meacham Road and things like that. And I would be totally willing to be walking through the neighborhood and knock on the door and be like, hey, how's it going? Just wanted to stop by and say hi. And if they're not receptive to it, that's fine. But I have no problem doing that. And I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Well, so this is the opportunity right here before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Like I always say, an hour goes by super fast.
It does.
So, make your case. Tell people why you're the best fit for this. What is the change that you're going to bring? I know in some of the other interviews that you did, you really feel like you have some change to offer for the better. Yeah. And just make your case. Tell people.
I think that I will be the best representative for Ward 1 because I offer a totally fresh and different perspective. I've been a stay-at-home mom for many years. However, before that, I worked for large corporations like Home Depot, and I also worked for small businesses. So I see the struggle and the grit it takes to run a small business, but I also see the intricacies of working in a large corporation. I feel that I have an advantage because I do have a young family and we are here for the long haul. My sister just bought a house in Rolling Meadows, so we're not going anywhere. And I already have, a base in my neighborhood of really great people that, have, outreach to everywhere else. And I don't come with any, previous ties to the city, which I think is, it offers a different perspective entirely.
Yeah, sure.
I don't have any old, things, with the city. So,
right.
Which is different than my opponent. But I don't think that's a bad thing. My volunteer experience doesn't have Rolling Meadows attached to it, but I don't think that that's a bad thing either, especially being over in Ward 1, where sometimes you don't feel like you're really a part of Rolling Meadows, and I want to change that. So that's why I think I'd be really great for this position.
I love it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, early voting has already started.
It has.
And
they even offer it on the weekends.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
So that's something
you can
new.
go right over there right now.
You can
over
go
to Rolling Meadows.
Literally right now. Yeah. But the last day, though, you got to vote before April 6th. So
that's in-person voting April 6th. Also, mail-in ballots. I just read that they are having drop boxes at both early polling places in Palatine on Wood. So if you have a mail-in ballot, you can put it in there and it'll go exactly where it needs to go. They were thinking about not doing that, but they did.
Okay. Well, there's another way.
Yeah.
So I mean, you gotta
Get out and vote.
Get out and vote. Definitely.
Absolutely.
And so, I really appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate you doing this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. It's interesting to me.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, for everybody listening, definitely, watch both sides. Do your research. Look into all the things that the government has to offer, and make an informed decision. It's very important that you get involved in your local politics, and the people that are running, vote for the one that aligns with what you want. I love the fact that you have a growing family. You are here for the long haul.
Yep.
The decisions that you're going to make in your ward are going to 100% affect your family.
Yeah.
For a long time.
A really long time.
So, it's important, and I love that. So, Karen, it's a real pleasure. Thanks
you.
again, and
And to you.
there you go.
All right.